You're listening to the Beyond Measurements and Image podcast, where we build healthier lifestyles, elevate your well-being, and transform lives. Welcome to BMI.
I'm your host, Dr. Drew Crawford. I'm a board-certified gastroenterologist and obesity medicine specialist. Thank you for joining me today on Beyond Measurements and Image. For today's guest, the road to health was an ongoing fight, one that had been building for years but truly began when the scale hit 327 pounds. The same person who once ran cross-country, swung a tennis racket, and admired bodybuilding could barely recognize the reflection staring back. The busyness of life had piled on with long hours, heavy responsibilities, and endless seasons of putting himself last. But no matter how many times he fell, he always rose again. Each return wasn't just about losing weight. It was about remembering who he was and who he still wanted to become. For himself, for his patients, and for his newborn son. This episode is about balance, purpose, and what it means to rebuild your health in every sense of the word, financial, physical, and generational. Let's get into it. Today I'm with a good friend, Dr. Fernando Magana. I've known Fernando now for about 5 years, and the Fernando that sits in front of me today is very different in appearance than the Fernando that I originally met. So as I'll talk about as the podcast goes on, is the Fernando that's in front of me today versus the one that I originally met is the exact same person. Fernando's an amazing guy. He has a great story. I've known him. He's been a fellow at Oklahoma State in gastroenterology. He's also board certified in obesity medicine. So he not only has the knowledge, but he also has lived the life. And so I think his story is really going to resonate with people. So with no further ado, Dr. Magana, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's just start with your childhood.
Yeah, no, for sure. My family, we are from Mexico originally. I was born in Mexico, in Chihuahua, in Delicias. My mom, she was married. I've never met my biological father in person, but they were married and circumstances, they separated and wanted to come to the U.S. This is opportunity. This is where family was as well, a lot of them. So I was brought over and I grew up undocumented. My family was in Irving, there in Dallas area. Aunts that had businesses in Dallas and like Oak Cliff area. And so we got a little bit of everywhere. I grew up there and went to school with everyone, did everything just like a normal kid. But it was always, you have to be careful. You don't have social security number. You don't have things like that. So it was pretty tough kind of growing up that way.
What year was that?
I was about 8 months old, year old. And it was tough because we had, my cousins can go back and forth. They can go travel, things like that.
So you're a dreamer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they called
children? They had people
over?
that did that and they were trying to get into the DREAM program. And
Yeah.
I never did that. When I actually did my immigration stuff was where I didn't go into any of that. But essentially, yeah, grew up without anything like that. They gave me a tax identification so I could pay taxes.
Of course, yeah. They want that.
Can't get a job, can't get a driver's license, all the things you can do as a high
But they'll
school
take
kid.
your money.
Right.
So was your mom, everybody that came over was undocumented?
No, so my grandfather, he just passed away a few months ago. He was initially here. They did a lot of construction, rail work. And so he had visa to come work. And then he was able to sponsor his kids. And that's how my aunts and uncles started coming over here. So my mom was sponsored through him as well. And at that time, they used like church, Catholic nuns and things in Mexico that kind of helped you file your paperwork and legal work. So it was kind of tough, but she was able to get her residency initially to come to the States and wasn't able to get that for me.
Did she try?
She did. A lot of it's difficult because there's paternal legal work that has to be done, have to give up adoption, try to get someone else to help you, sponsor you, things like that. And my biological father, I actually had conversations with him when I was in my teens, asking if he would, help me with that process and in return would maybe have a relationship. And he said no. And so I said no. And so, so could never do it. Exactly.
Yeah. So he's still in Mexico, I assume?
He is.
Yeah.
It's funny, hear from him used to as a kid. Here's a birthday, here's a phone call kind of thing, and go silent for a long time. And then all of a sudden, you get into medical school, and people start popping up on Facebook, and oh hey, yeah. So it's kind of one of those situations. But yeah.
So came over, grew up in the DFW area. Mm-hmm. You were undocumented; the rest of the family wasn't, but you had to kind of fly under the radar.
So it's tough. You do the state testing for schools. I think it was the tax test back then. And so one of the questions they ask you, fill in your social security number in these boxes. If you don't, raise your hand. So it was very obvious. Everyone knew because I had to raise my hand every year and say, what do I do in this case? And so, it was tough like that growing up.
Were there other kids in your class in the same
No.
category, same situation?
Not
or
really. It wasn't until much later on, like high school, I think where I noticed there was a couple other people that had a similar situation. They had some instances where some of the people checking IDs after school to
Yeah.
see where it was, and people were kind of reported with families as well. So
Is that right?
that's actually how I got into tennis, hanging out with some friends that I knew. But I'd hang out, play until 6 p.m. or so. My mom would come pick me up afterwards, or I was able to go home, and everyone was already gone from home. So
Another advantage to sport.
exactly. It was great. I loved it, and I got really good at it. At that time, I was able to play a lot in high school tournaments, and then some junior college stuff I did with them for a short stint. But
Yeah.
I loved it.
So it came up, good family,
Mhm.
solid family background, sounds like.
Absolutely.
Mom's present.
Yeah, for sure. So it was mom and I. We have aunts and uncles. It's a Mexican family. Everyone's a family
Right.
together. So my aunts and uncles were in town. I had my cousins. We have tons of cousins. So I'd grow up with them, hang out with them. My grandma, who was like my second mom. I lived with them. We had a mobile home. Our first trailer, it was over, I remember it was by some creeks. And we had some pet woodpeckers. And we had some other birds that we'd go get. That was really fun. But I had aunts and uncles that were kind of in mobile homes nearby. And then mobile homes, when my family wanted to move into a bigger one, I think they call it a double wide. So they had to go shopping. And that's where my mom met my stepdad. So she met him there. And then they ended up having a relationship and getting married. I think I was about 9 years old, I think, when they got married together. And so that was the first time, we got to move out of that. And they bought a home together.
When you say they met shopping, was he a salesman?
He was.
Yeah.
He was, I don't know if he was a manager at that time. I think he may have been like an assistant manager. So I just call him dad. And then grandpa, he was the man, I think, at that time. But they were together. So yeah, he was like the salesman for the mobile homes, and they got to meet that way. And then he'd come over, and we get to have a relationship and go out and stuff like that. And they had dates and stuff. But it was good.
And he was a good role model.
Yeah,
Was he still present?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Still is. I just saw him, this weekend. We see each other all the time because they're in the FW. And so I'm traveling back and forth to see my wife there right now and our baby. And he's grandpa. He's got the grandpa shirts now.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty great. It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
great. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we had a good support system. They got married. Couldn't sponsor me because he technically couldn't legally adopt me because I still had a father.
Was he a Mexican origin as well? Or?
No, he's Asian, white.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Just a
absolutely.
Texan.
Yeah, exactly. Texan. He was from Pittsburgh, or Pennsylvania, I should say.
Yeah.
Initially. So yes, they were married and they tried. We had, I don't know how many attorneys they'd go through and visits. And it was things like they would try here. She would travel over to Mexico, see what they could do there. There's some different laws where like you can maybe try to like see if you can get put up for adoption, but you put out like a newsletter thing. And if you've made it public, it's going to happen and no one says anything about it, then it can be a legal thing.
Yeah.
So they tried multiple things, and yeah, we'd go to lawyer attorney office all the time. One of the harder ones was, in high school, maybe my sophomore year, I think it was. That's where she was exhausting all her options. And she was like, we've tried so many things. We can't do anything. I think she felt bad. And she was like, you can't have like the normal kind of life. You can't have a car. You can't have a job. You can't go to school. You can't do, what is it going to happen? What it's going to be like after high school?
Right.
She was like, do you just want to go back? Have a life there. You can do school. You can try to get a job, do whatever. And I was like, this is where I've been from. I mean, aside from an ID and a number. I mean, I grew up here. I know people, Cowboys fan. They don't have the Cowboys in Mexico. So, no, it was the thing. And it was tough. And so there was nothing really we could do there. But, my wife and I, we met in middle school.
Okay.
We met 6th grade. We played the violin together in orchestra. She says she was better. I don't think so. But
she probably was.
Yeah, she probably was. Yeah, we met and we had started dating in high school. And she's great. She knew everything. She's known everyone. She's known my family. She met everyone. And our plan, we were just going to get married. And that was our thing. We were going to move away. We were going to figure out stuff on our own. Her mom is from Germany. She is still a German citizen, permanent resident here.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. Overseas, you can kind of get like different, I guess it's tiers of citizenship. And, our plan was initially, it's like, maybe we go to Germany and see if we can start over there. They have a university. I remember looking up university. They have a partnership, I think, with Stanford. I think some of their classes were English as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like our kind of escape. But yeah, everyone thinks, you get married, or that's the kind of thing that people say, you get married, citizen, you're going to be a citizen. It was not the case at all. No, they said you can go and you can take her with you.
Right. Yeah. So in 2025, we're on the heels of all this mass illegal immigration, and the current administration is going in trying to root out the good or the bad or whatever they're doing, But the immigration issue in 2025 is got to be different than it was for you, I would assume. I mean, there wasn't this mass deportation, nor was there necessarily a group of people on your side. Or is that accurate or no?
It's tough. Because when I was in high school, like I said, that's kind of how I got into tennis. They were checking some students' IDs when they were leaving, crossing school.
And what year was that?
It was probably like 2000, somewhere between like 2006, 2009, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So,
yeah. So it was
it was similar.
Yeah. It wasn't like you don't see it like on TV. You don't see it like this.
Right. Didn't have social media back then.
That's probably,
probably the big part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Interesting.
It's sad.
But in the end, you ended up getting citizenship.
Mm-hmm. So when I turned 18, it was labeled as a felon. You're in the country illegally. You're an adult. You're doing it willingly. I had to do voluntary deportation, which was tough. It was scary, obviously. My wife and I, we'd known each other for so long, dated, we got married, and they were like, "You're gonna have to show that this isn't this real thing." Exactly.
Right.
I was like, we have photos since whatever. Like, what do you need? What are you talking about? Yeah. And then you're actually saying, she can go with you. You can't stay. I was like, dude, what she wanted to. And I was like, no, just stay. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
If not, we'll do the Germany route. Yeah, I did voluntary deportation. We had an attorney in Dallas, but we anticipated like just a few weeks. You'd be out of the country, go to immigration, consulate, be done. And it turned into several months. And
so you graduated high school at this point.
Yeah.
In college yet?
Yeah, no. I graduated early from high school. I was doing some college classes in high school. Our city, unfortunately, had like a dual credit and AP thing you can go in the summers. So I did a lot of classes. And I graduated a year early. My wife graduated early, about 6 months. And I started a community college because it was cheaper. And that's where you could pay for it.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. Did all of immigration in Mexico. I had a cousin. She married. He was a lawyer, but he had a bunch of houses, it would be kind of like Airbnb. People would come from all over the world to live there and do their consulate. They do their fingerprinting. They do their blood tests, labs, imaging, vaccinations, go through immigration. So they'd kind of stay with him and he would help transport them back and forth. It was tough with money. We only planned for a few months or a few weeks, and then it turned into months, and we were 20 years old.
And your wife went with you?
I told her to stay.
Okay, she stayed.
She was still in school. I was like, stay, because I had to go to Juarez, which was at that time was a very, very, very dangerous city.
Yeah.
Lots of cartels, lots of stuff going on. So I was like, absolutely not. So it was just me staying with him at some of his little houses and kind of helping transport people back and forth in the consulate. And I could read English, speak English. I could help them a little bit, give them an idea, point them in the directions.
And you were fluent in Spanish as well. Is that just because of the household? Your mom just...
Yeah, it was the first language.
Cousins,
exactly. So first language, and then grew up, watching like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Coach, Happy Days.
That's how you learned English?
Yeah, exactly.
The 2000 version of Duolingo.
Yeah, exactly. It was awesome. So we did that, and then I finally got my permanent residency. And then the day I got it, like it comes through a DHL shipping. I got it, my passport. I packed my things and I just walked across.
Is that right? Yeah. Is that right there by El Paso? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the worst part because, I drive people in the vans back and forth to the consulate, to the meetings, and you can see El Paso. You can see downtown. You can see the Chase building. I remember the downtown buildings, and I was like, I want to be back.
Where you want to be. Yeah.
And even that day, though, I crossed the border. And they were like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going home. And they were like, home is behind you. And I was like, oh, it's actually Dallas where my wife is. But right. Sure. Yeah. And so I remember I got in the taxi, super happy. It was great.
Have you been back since?
No, I've taken my family. I mean, we've been to like Cabo for vacation. It's tough. It's hard because, you grow up and you're like, can't go back. You kind of lose that this is my country thing. But then when you're here, you're like, no, this is a country. So you kind of grow up and you're like, well, where am I supposed to be?
Right.
Not allowed here. If I go over there, I don't really know it. So it's kind of tough. I just never really felt a full attachment either way because I couldn't.
Right. Is that different now that you have your citizenship, or you still feel kind of a little lost between the two?
I don't feel lost. I fear, I guess. There's like an anxiety every now and then. It'll probably never go away. When I go to the TSA, just make sure there's nothing in my backpack. And there's never going to be anything in my backpack, but I'm just going to make sure there's nothing for a reason to be pulled out.
Right.
Make sure there's not any, if I got pulled over speeding, I was like, oh man, just the first thought is just a little scared.
Sure.
And so that doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. I got my citizenship, or I had a permanent residency. You'd get like a random selection. My wife and I, we took our family to overseas. We went like a group on vacation. I think it was to Spain. And everyone was great. When I landed, they're like, "Oh my God, you have a Mexican passport." They thought it was like an exotic passport, really nice, and really treated me great. And then I came back and they're like randomly select you out of the line. When you get randomly selected a few times, my wife starts getting upset. We'll take you to the little room in the back.
Randomly
and
selected the Mexican guy.
And it made me nervous, but she was upset. And I was like, don't be upset. This is fine. We're doing okay. So yeah, it's just small little things. Like you get a little anxious. And I know when I did my citizenship, I waited. I don't know why I waited, but I did the exams and residency right at the end, going into fellowship. And I went and took the test, and they were like, "Yeah, you did really well." Or I did all my questions, and then they were like, "You speak English really well." I was like, "Yeah, I can write it pretty good too."
Right.
I can do a lot of English.
College credits in English. Yeah. So I get you up to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just pause just a little bit there, because from there, we'll go college, medical school, residency, and all. But let's just back up a little bit. Let's just talk about your health growing up. Because one of the things that I've kind of begun to touch on a little bit on the podcast is just the role of financial health and the impact that it has on health, right? And so we don't need to get into that, but clearly what you've described is, you guys obviously had everything you needed, and you had each other, which is really all that matters. Mm-hmm. But you probably weren't just rolling in cash, I'm guessing.
Absolutely not. Yeah, right? You're right.
And given the background, let's just talk about what your health was like, maybe what your mom's health, what you see growing up in a Mexican community, and what does that look like for Fernando coming up to that point?
For sure. Now, I think with newer generations, my cousins, everyone that grew up, it's much more trying to stay healthy, stay up to date. But just as general culture, we like our tortillas, we like little breads or sweets, we like all kinds of little candies. And that wasn't really a thing that was emphasized too much when we were growing up.
Health wasn't emphasized?
No. And then a lot of it probably was with the resources that they had. Initially, my mom and I did some apartments. And then we had the mobile homes. She was a single mom. She was working. And so she worked at a DoubleTree hotel. There were times where she took me with her to the hotel, and there was like an empty hotel room. And she would go down and get some food from the cafeteria, and I get to eat it. It was quiet in the hotel room, but not really much of an emphasis on healthy kind of foods. My grandma would cook for us at home. And she would just butters and all kinds of things that she would put in it, and creams and tortillas and sweets and different. They call it atole. It's like a hot beverage, like a sweet hot beverage. It's sugary food and fatty foods and creams and heavy things like that. But we did like cookouts and stuff like that with my cousins, but it wasn't really health focused. Mm-hmm. When my mom got married, the first few years was probably really, really good. Our life changed a lot. My dad at that time, he was doing the management and selling the mobile homes, and the business was really good at that time. People were buying mobile homes at that time. And so he did really well. And then that market kind of went away, the little industry. People weren't buying them anymore. So then he had a hard time finding some jobs. And then it kind of went back to what it was before. Mm-hmm. Some struggling there. I remember there was a place called Top Line. It was in Grand Prairie, there in the DFW area. It's basically where boxes that fall off on the way to Walmart, things that get damaged, they kind of send them there. And then you can buy it kind of wholesale, discounted, cheap. Yeah. Exactly. Uh-huh. But we'd laugh, but they'd have little signs on everything that said past date, but still good.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was really cheap. So we'd go there every week and go get a bunch of food. Yeah. And it was, sometimes you find the same thing consistently. Sometimes it's a new thing. Random. So it was just a new adventure. You're getting a new thing each week, and different drinks and all kinds of foods. But we did that. Back then, I think Sonic still did a lot of that brown bag special. Mm-hmm. I think where you can go get like 5 burgers at a time. So that was our thing, was like our weeks, we'd have like a family thing and go out and get a bunch of burgers and a bunch of fatty foods. Yeah. So it really wasn't an emphasis on there. So yeah, growing up, I was heavy. I was definitely heavy. That was tough because you get made fun of at school. I mean, kids are kids, and that's what it is. At that time, I was getting gynecomastia, and then you get made fun of for that.
So gynecomastia, just for non-medical people, is man boobs.
Yeah.
And it's just fatty deposition in the breast area, but
the tissue would grow, and it would hurt initially when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. When I was, at least it did, and it was uncomfortable. Now it's summer and you want to go to the pool or you want to do something and you feel self-conscious and you feel like that. So it was kind of tough. You get made fun of at school, you get jokes with family or kids, cousins, things like that. That was tough. So
was there anybody else in your family big? Like the cousins or your mom or grandma or anybody?
My cousins, they were okay. A little bit older than me, so maybe they were doing a little more like sports or they just really didn't have that kind of metabolism.
Yeah. Some people are just wired that way.
I was pretty lucky. So it was heavy. And then I remember specifically, it was in middle school. I got sick and we were going to go to some orchestra event where you go play some park. It was like a little theme park. I think it was called Sandy Lake there in DFW.
And you were playing.
Mm-hmm.
You were playing the violin.
Yeah. But I got sick before then. It was probably about like a week or two. Some kind of GI bug, something like that. I was at home that was really sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I was eating right. And then when I came back, all of the kids I was in middle school were like, "Oh, what did you do? Look at you. You're getting so thin. You're losing weight." And I was like, I didn't notice it because I was just sick at home.
Right.
And then I came back and I was like, "Oh, I get treated a little better if I start losing weight."
Interesting.
It's just starting off at like 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
And, I noticed that and I was like, it's not good because I was sick.
Right.
And I wasn't eating, but
that's a substance for a eating disorder, right?
Exactly.
There, right?
Exactly. They were basically pointing me in that direction. Like, if you don't eat, you'll lose weight, and everyone noticed it and we liked you. Yeah. So that was tough. And so it was like that for a little bit. Where I think I, was kind of going down that path where I was like, maybe if I just don't eat as much. And it was like, I remember they did like a church thing where they're like, we're going to fast for a month or whatever and like sign up for a bunch of days. And I was like, doing it for the wrong reasons. What are you doing? And so, I noticed that and I was like, no, I can't do that. I want to do more athletic stuff. So going into high school, I got into the cross country teams, started running and running and running. And I was okay. I wasn't one of the fastest at all, but I liked it. And with that, running and running, you get hungry. But as long as you kind of keep up with it and you're young, you can do that. You can eat more.
So when you were running, were you pretty lean at that point?
Yeah. I started getting really
down
lean.
A lot.
I got very, very lean. I think I was probably about 118 pounds back then.
And how tall?
I haven't grown that much, honestly. So it's probably about 5'7" or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Average size then, but
that's lean.
Yeah.
Lean.
I was very lean. I was very, very thin. And it was great. I was doing good. I was doing sports. At that time, I got a husky. She just passed away a year ago. She loved running. And so she was my partner. We would go run at the park next to her house. And her name was Sasha. And she would run and just run and run and run. And it was awesome. We would do the bike together. She would kind of pull the bike. That's just what she was. She was just bred to do that. And so I loved it. And we did that like crazy. That's when I got into tennis around that time period. And so that was great. A lot of fun. But slowly, that's kind of the time period where kids start looking at weightlifting and they start looking at, they want to get bigger, want to get stronger. They probably want attention kind of thing. And I really got into like bodybuilding people. Ronnie Coleman, that was a thing. Watching his videos, seeing, because we started getting videos then, magazines. That's where it kind of all took off. And like, now, this cross country thing, we can put that aside. Right? We want to get stronger.
We want the opposite way.
Exactly. And then tennis, you see Rafael Nadal when he was young. And that was this thing. He wore cut off sleeves.
Yeah.
That was he was like flexing out
muscle
there.
Bound,
it was like, oh, this is the new thing. This has got to be it. And so it really took off from there. And it was a slippery slope though, because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know anything about nutrition. You just know they're big and everyone says you want to get big, you got to eat. So you start eating. You go complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
And so it was tough. Weight kind of fluctuates, goes up and down. I was in good shape already then though, because of, having run so much and being lean and starting to grow. And you kind of get obsessed. You kind of go one way or another. At least I felt like I did.
Yeah. I think it's a fine line.
Yeah. You want to limit, and then you want to go. And it's tough to kind of manage it. But when I eventually got into community college, I met someone there. He's a good friend. He's a good mentor. And he was like, you don't know what you're doing. He was like, you have really a decent genetic build. You can build pretty good. You're pretty strong, but you have no idea what you're eating. You have no idea what you're doing. And he would just send me literature and books and how to train and how to eat and how to do this stuff. And then I started kind of counting things and it was great. He was really involved. At that time, we had the Europa Super Show. It was in Dallas, a big bodybuilding fitness event, and he would be in there kind of helping out backstage. And I got to go in there and meet some of the people that were competing, and it was great. I got to bring my dad with that along backstage and see people.
Huh.
And that was awesome. That was like my world. I think Ronnie Coleman he had his classic in Mesquite at that time. So you go see him. And then I got to meet him growing up. He was in DFW. You got to see him at the Metroflex gym through my friends. And it was just awesome watching that. But once you get into medical school, it's different.
Yeah. So you managed through college, quit cross country, started bodybuilding, did well.
Yep. Did bodybuilding and powerlifting more so.
Yeah.
I loved that. It was great. My wife and I were married at that time, and she would come to the gym with me too. She wasn't as into it at that time. Like she did it more for probably the right reasons, for health and things like that.
Right.
But she definitely would go with me. She probably wasn't as into like the people that were competing in the shows and that industry, but she knew of it, sure. We were just both studying school, and she was more focused on that stuff too. And I was too as well. But early on, it probably piqued my interest more because it's something that's international. You can do it anywhere, and it's not just here. And I didn't know what the future would be for me here. Here was not an option until eventually later on became an option to be in the US. And so it was kind of hard finding my way. It was like I'd focus on school, I'd get really into it. And then I was like, oh, there's not really a future for me. And then I'd focus on health and fitness. And then it was great, but I was like, I can't even go to a show here if I wanted to. I felt like, or at least I felt like I couldn't because I couldn't sign up for something.
Right.
So it was kind of tough finding a way, but just watching videos, getting to meet people, really, really gotten into it. Sure.
So you did that through college. And where'd you go to undergrad?
Junior college, I did in the Dallas Community College District, North Lake College. It's a beautiful campus there in Las Colinas. And then did undergrad at University of Texas in Arlington.
Okay.
So UT Arlington. It's kind of a commuter school. They don't have like football, but they have a pretty good basketball team. Really, really good program. My wife and I did that while we were working. When I came back and was able to get my residency, I worked some IT work, help desk stuff, did the nation's job count.
And when you say residency, you mean like citizenship residency?
Yeah, permanent resident. Yeah, U.S. permanent, the green card.
Right.
I was able to do those jobs. And then we worked at like AppCore and Quest Diagnostics at night.
Okay.
And we would go to class in the morning or during the daytime. So it was like you could do your scheduling. Hopefully everything would start later in the afternoon and then go to work at nighttime. And so that was probably where we completely abandoned any health and fitness when we started working.
That's a big risk factor for obesity.
Yes.
Right? So many people do that, right? I mean, work kind of gets in the way, life gets in the way, so to speak. Then they start packing on weight. So,
a lot of it, like we was talking about financially as well. We were married. We both graduated early, 18, 19, when we got married. I didn't have a job. I mean, I did a lot of things on Craigslist, bought things, sold things. Sure. I'm just trying to do anything I could. We were kind of surviving off her salary, and she would work as like a hostess at Red Lobster.
Right.
Something like that. And so
you're eating fast food QT and sort of a self-imposed food desert, so to speak.
Kids come and they like sell you a little card, fundraising. They're like, here's a coupon card for the town. We had a coupon card that had Domino's, and the Domino's had a buy one, get one free. It didn't have anything else. It wasn't anything specific, I could say. So we would buy large pizzas, and we would buy one, get one free. And that would be how we would go for days because we didn't have much money. At one point, I think we had something like $11, $12 in our account to last us till the next paycheck 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
She was working in a call center at that time. She got a gas card. She won like a little raffle at her work, and she had a little Kia Rio. And so we got in that Kia Rio and we needed gas. And so we were like, got on the highway and we were just doing neutral. We hit the gas, hit neutral until we could get to the next city to where we could use that card.
Yeah.
And then we got our gas there, and then we took our $11 and we went to Walmart and go get all these frozen burritos because it was the cheapest things there.
Right.
And I was like, well, we just got to make it until the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So our food habits were bad. It was buy one, get one free pizzas.
Maybe not bad by choice, bad by circumstance. Yeah. Which I think is so common. We just don't know everybody's story. Yeah. Sometimes you go in a neighborhood and you see a lot of wealth and you see a big person. You're like, okay, well, that's on them, maybe, at whatever level. But situations like that.
But we didn't think it was bad because everyone we knew was in the same situation.
Right.
And so my friends, they were all in the same boat. They worked, some of them would work at little pool service or work at like a pool company, mowing yards. Or I had a friend that introduced me to selling plasma or donating plasma.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And so
Yeah.
we would go a couple times a week, and then, we'd have game night in our little apartment with our buy one, get one free pizzas, and everyone would come over, and that was just what we all did. We all got heavy together.
You don't necessarily think about health at that age, right? It comes later in life. So that's through college.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when you started medical school, were you big going into medical school?
Probably a little heavier than I'd like to be, but it wasn't like morbidly obese.
No.
But then as medical school went on, and then you start studying in hours and hours and hours. I had a good friend group. I had a really, really close-knit friend group. Everyone eventually went off their separate ways, but we would order a bunch of food. It was a good time.
Sure.
I had a friend then who was really into fitness. And so that transition from college into medical school, I thought I wasn't going to be able to do any of that stuff anymore. And then he was really into bodybuilding. And so I was like, oh, let's go to the gym together. So we started going to the gym together a lot. And then I met two other friends. They're close friends. I still have them on my phone. We talk all the time. We had a little group chat where we would go work out. We call it guys night. And Friday nights in med school, go out to the gym and just do dumb things. Just try to max out every single week. That's just not a good idea, but we would go do that. And that was our thing. So I really wasn't that focused on nutrition. We just exercised for fun and to blow off steam.
Yeah.
But nutrition, was tough in med school too. My wife, she followed me out to New Mexico where we had school, and she worked in El Paso. So she would drive 2 hours round trip. So it's kind of whatever is easy, accessible. And then you're on a fixed income as well. When you're in school, you don't have a job, but it was residency where
you started putting it on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I graduated med school and I was probably about 240.
240. Pounds. You started residency at 240?
Yeah, I think I was at 240.
Okay.
And
3 years of internal medicine.
3 years of internal medicine.
And then what transpired over those 3 years with your health and fitness and weight and what have you?
We started our class right when COVID hit. And so the world was different. The world changed. And it was July 1st. And they're like, here's all these COVID patients. And here's trying to do your bread and butter, internal medicine, things that you see. But then COVID complicated everything. And so it was stressful. And at that time, my wife was not in medicine yet. And so she was in Dallas teaching. And so she was working in DFW because just the salary was much more in Texas at that time for education. And so she was traveling every week. And so I was alone in Oklahoma. We had our house here. And then it was COVID, and you're an intern, and there's a lot of stress, and it's a new environment. You don't know what's going on. You're trying to get used to residency, which is like drinking out of a fire hose, they say.
Right.
And my response that I know, at least I've seen as well over time, but really amplified in residency, is I get stressed. I like to eat. I'll just eat and eat and eat. What that would look like would be, I make friends with the ladies in the cafeteria, and they'd give me a little extra. They're like, oh, he's tired. And they're Hispanic ladies too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he needs his food. And they're like, you're looking small. And I was like, I'm not. I'm getting bigger and bigger. But they're like, here's some extra helpings, and I'd eat it all. And then you go to the fridge in the ICU, and they have ice cream. So you'd eat all the ice cream, just all of it. We would work ICU nights, and we would order pizza, deliver Chinese food, whatever, every single night. And a lot of the COVID ICU nurses, they were traveling, and so they had much better salaries than we did. And so they would buy us food too. It was really great. We had a really good camaraderie with everybody, but it was all around food
based.
And I ate everything, and I'd be nervous. And so, you get off of an ICU morning shift, and I would go home, and I'd stop by the Daylight Donuts, and I would get like chocolate milk, get donuts, get the pigs in the blanket. On the way to work, you're tired, and you're just going to get a Sonic. Or sometimes coming home from work, I would get Sonic, and I'd get a burger and a big blast, and I'd get an ice cream cone. I'd be like, I'm going to eat this one in the car on the way home because I'm anxious. And then I go home and eat all this food, and then I have to have dessert with my blast. It was a really bad cycle. It was bad. So I think I went in at like 240, and then the highest I got to, I was like, man, this is insane. It was like 327 pounds.
327.
Yeah.
So that's probably about when I met you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I knew, I didn't have a PCP at the time. I didn't know what the weight was until I got a Bell's palsy. Half my face was drooping.
Paralyzed.
Really good friends with one of our attendings there was a neurologist. And so I was like, I need to come see you. So I went to his clinic, and then they weighed me in, and I got to see the epic my chart result, or the, after visit summary. I was looking at my height. Yeah, that makes sense. Look at the weight. And I was like, 327 pounds. My brother, he came up to Oklahoma probably the latter half of my intern year, and he was interested in starting nursing. And so he came up and stayed with me in my house, and he would work at OSU as a tech at night. And he sat me down one night and he was like, hey, we need to do something about this. He was like, you always were into all this stuff, exercising, fitness. And he's like, you're 300 pounds. And then being in medicine, I was like, I know you're right. My blood pressure's starting to go up, snoring. I don't get good sleep. I'm having a hard time. I think I knew something needed to kind of change, but it took a little bit. If you don't want to do something, you're not going to do it. And so I knew what to do. I've known it. People had shown me, I'd read about it. I grew up with all this interest in it. And it was like, I didn't want to do it because I was just so nervous and tired. But instead of doing things to have good health outcomes, I bought a pillow that was like a wedge and it was elevated because I did get nervous. I'd go to sleep at night and I'd stop breathing. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm going to drown in my sleep.
Right.
And so I put a pillow behind me.
Yeah. Why bother to lose weight when you can just put a pillow behind you?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You can just buy something.
My wife would come up on the weekends from Dallas and she was like, you're snoring. And I was like, yeah, I know. I can't sleep sometimes because of it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I really wanted to make a change that anything changed. I just kept eating that way.
Those are easy habits to grind in.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like a coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Residency is incredibly difficult, or it was for me at least.
Yeah.
And it's stressful, and particularly in the program that we both went through, it's a lot. And it's good. And I think in the end, we come out better for that stress.
Yeah.
So it's not a complaint, but everybody has their deal. And some people turn to drinking, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to exercise, and some people turn to food.
Mm-hmm.
So you turn to food, but then at some point, your wife
Yeah.
says you're snoring, your brother says you're fat.
Yeah.
It's something, what came about that made you say, gosh, I'm on
Yeah.
the wrong track. I got to do something different.
So all those years, I think my brother even told me, like, you used to follow all these bodybuilders, you met these people, you knew this whole thing. And he was like, what happened? And I was like, yeah, I mean, medical school into residency just kind of felt like my life went on pause, stopped doing the things I used to do. I hadn't picked up a tennis racket in years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch anything. I didn't know what was going on with the tennis world. I didn't know what was going on in the bodybuilding world. I didn't know anything. And so I was like, let me get back into this a little bit. Let me just start watching. And he's one of my favorite, Mr. Olympians, classic physique guy, Chris Bumstead. Huge on social media, 6-time, amazing. I started following his journey, and he's like a really relatable guy. He's like very honest, has emotion, gonna break it down, would have videos of just, here's my everyday, here's what I'm eating, here's what I'm going through. He had autoimmune disorders as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of his story was really kind of motivational for me. As a young guy, started kind of getting back into that. Let me watch a couple shows. Let me watch a few things. I start watching here's what I eat every day. And I'm like, oh, he's eating fish. He's eating asparagus. He's eating chicken, rice, obviously the things you hear. I was like, man, maybe I need to make a little bit of a change too. I was like, I remember how to count my macros. I remember how to count things again. I was like, let me start doing a little bit. And my mind it's unfortunately it goes to one extreme or the other. So I was like, oh, let me go get a big gym again. Let me go start. And I was like, no, start slow. Go to this Planet Fitness, something, just commit to something, show yourself you can commit to something, then you'll change your diet, then you'll change this a little bit and go from there. And then around that time is when you start doing auditions, and for GI, you're really interested in fellowship. And that was what I wanted to do from the very beginning. I remember when I was a med student in my interview, I was like, I'm coming because I want to really apply to GI. Someone I had met in an audition when I was a medical student somewhere else in Vegas told me they have a GI program here at St. Francis. It's beautiful. They call it the Pink Palace. You got to go see it. I was like, oh, that's perfect. So I was living in a fellow's apartment in Vegas, auditioning at their program because I was interested in GI. And he told me about the GI here. And so I was like, oh, well, there you go. I'm done here. And so that was what I wanted to do. And I came here and I was like, I'm interested in this. And so they were telling me, they were like, just get ready because Dr. Crawford likes to take all the stairs. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I can take stairs. I didn't realize I didn't take a single stair in residency. I was just taking the elevator the whole time because it was hard. It was hard on me. And then we start going up and down these stairs. The first couple was okay. And then you start going up to like this 6 floors up there on that big tower we've got. Yeah. And then I was like, I can go up 6 floors. And then you look at the floors and it's a whole flight of stairs up. And then you turn around, it's only halfway up the stair. Right. And then you go up another flight. And now you're like, all right, now I'm on level 2.
Yeah.
And so by the time
6 floors is like 12 floors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're big steps, or at least they looked big to me. I started going up there and I'm sweating and I'm getting hard to breathe. And I'm getting to the top and I'm like, I'm really trying to make an impression, show them I'm interested, but I can't even speak because my breathing is just so bad. I was sweating and I was like, I'm trying to catch my breath. And, we walk over to the room and you got a big grin on your face. And I'm like, this is a 50-year-old. He's got a history of COPD. And I sound like I have the COPD.
Right.
And so it was like, man, I can't do this. I was like, I need to get better because like, how am I going to present? How am I going to keep up with everyone if I'm like this every time I need to present a patient? This is just not going to work out. So that was a big eye opener. I was like, man, you've really let yourself go. You used to do cross country, run 8 miles a day with your dog. And now your dog's at home looking at you like, what are we doing? Like,
right.
Come on. Like, she doesn't like the pizza. She would just sit there and watch me eat the pizza. It was really sad. And so I got a lot of motivation from that. And I was like, I have to make a change because I'm going to be here. I'm going to be taking these stairs and I'm going to be the first one on those stairs. I'm going to make sure that I'm not tired and I can present. And then from there on, it was like a light bulb, like it changed. I had a goal. I was happy because I was in GI again. And I could see the light. I was like, I really hope I get in. But if not, I know I'm trying. It made me happy to be doing something that I was really interested in again. And then it was a way that I could get healthier so that I could do the thing that I wanted to do. And then at the same time, I started following that whole bodybuilding industry world again and seeing the motivation from that side of things. And it just all came together. And so my wife and I were like, she was at that time, second year, she got into medical school. And then she started doing the same. She had her group of friends and she started eating badly. And she got up to about 188 pounds, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And then she saw a photo of herself because she was taking photos for some professional pictures. And she was like, oh my gosh, like this is not me. I was like, well, I think I'm going to get back into this again. She was like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I'm going to try meal prepping. We started meal prepping everything we did. I got a scale. I still have the same one, weighing out the chicken back. You weigh the grams out, you weigh the rice out, I would weigh the vegetables out. I knew my servings. I knew everything that was going in. I was like, I'm just going to track it and I'm going to be in a deficit. And I know what deficits are like from bodybuilding. I don't know what it is from like the obesity medicine side, because I didn't even know that was a thing at that time.
Right.
But I was like, I know what deficits are and I know what it takes for these guys to get into shape. I'm going to do it. And so I started doing a deficit. And I mean, my deficit was bad. I don't recommend that. Those what these guys do for competitions. But I was eating like 1,300 calories, 1,200 calories, and I'm tired, but I'm not snoring anymore.
Yeah.
And like my blood pressure is going from 155, 147, and 45. And as you start losing, your sleep's a little better. Now I'm thinking a little bit clearer. Things like that started to work.
Like self-perpetuating. Yeah.
And so as that went on, my wife started doing the same thing. We'd buy sugar-free sauces. We'd buy everything sugar-free, low calorie, and we'd make our little meal plans. And then we started like every week, that was our thing on Sunday. We're going to make the food together. And then as you got busier, I started looking at, these days, it's really easy. At least growing up, they didn't have a bunch of these meal prep services either. And and they're expensive.
Yeah.
They really are. You can find some that are cheaper. But I started doing some of that and I was like, now I can buy my time back. It's important to me. So it's worth the price. I have my time. It's got nutrition labels, how much the calorie is, what the proteins are, what the macros are.
Does all the work.
I can still count it. And the way I justified it to myself was, there are people that go out and drink every week. You go out a couple nights a week, you get 2 or 3 drinks. Each one of those is $10, $11, $12.
Yeah.
That's $30 a day. You do that 2 or 3 times, it's $60, $70 a week. The weekends, they do this as well. I'm like, if I just eliminate these things and just put it in something that's important to me, it's about the same cost.
Yeah.
But now it's helping me get to where I want to be.
Beneficial.
Exactly. I haven't touched alcohol I never had a drinking issue at all. I used to drink it socially, margaritas with friends and things like that. But I haven't had alcohol in almost 3 years now. And I don't even miss it at all. Not even a little bit. But I got to move it all into that. It was great. And so my wife and I were both doing that. I think I lost about 60 or 70 pounds at that time. And then I had a friend was telling me about, that's when GLPs really started getting big. I was like, hey, you should try one of these. And so I actually did get to try one for a couple months and see how it worked out. I like that I did it because I can kind of tell patients what it feels like as well.
Sure.
It's, sometimes we tell patients medicines, we know what the medicine feels like. And so I could tell them like, oh, at this dose, I kind of felt like this too. If you kind of keep going, as long as you can tolerate it, you can kind of get used to it and you can do these things. And so I did it for a few months and I noticed it was really good too. But for me, for what I was trying to do, I was lifting heavy weights and things like that. I just was taking my appetite away. And so I couldn't eat.
Right.
And then I would get weaker and I didn't feel as strong, which I think if you can manage it correctly, you can use them really well. But if you're just using it as your only thing, it's too much for me. And so I didn't use it anymore, and then just started dropping everything again like I was before. And so I did 327 pounds. I think I went too far. But I got it down to like a 183.
Is that right? Yeah.
So that was over 140.
So I remember when you rotated with us, I can remember we were up on 2 or 3 West, and I can't remember. At the time, one or two of my boys were in cross country. And so I was just telling you about some cross country run we were at. And you were probably close to your 327, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly, but you weren't slim.
Right.
And you said, yeah, I ran cross country. I ran like a 540 mile or something like that. And I'm like, boy, something's going wrong.
Yeah, sure. Back in my day.
And it wasn't that I doubted it. I knew, I knew if you said it, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's interesting because everybody's got a story, right? No matter what it is.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, when you were doing the audition, so an audition is when you're doing rotation. It's a month that you do during your 3rd year of your residency. There's a way you present, and this is a extra-old gentleman with this, but you get up there and literally he couldn't talk. Now, in his defense, it's true of everybody that rotates on our service, right? And I think I'm the only one that takes the steps, right? Probably all the other attendings ride the elevators.
Right.
But I wasn't doing that for you. I've done that for years.
Right.
When I was at OSU as a medicine resident, I always took the steps. Ken Calabrese always took the steps. I'll ride an elevator. They don't bother me. I just like the steps better. But what I can remember is when you came to interview for the fellowship. Do you remember this? You sat down and I said, Fernando, you look fantastic. I said, how much weight have you lost? And I don't remember the numbers, like 140 pounds or something. Was that what it was? 140 pounds. And he said, I lost 140 pounds. It's because I'm ready to take those steps for the next 3 years.
That's right.
And I thought, boy, what a fantastic answer. He didn't know. He already had the spot. He didn't have to lose any weight to get the spot. But anyhow, so it's interesting, because I didn't know you before.
Right.
And so all I knew was when I met you when you were big, and then you kind of found your way completely independent of anything other than just what you came up with inside, which is what it takes, right? You have to have your why.
Yeah.
So you found it. You're now the chief resident of the Gastroenterology Fellowship. You're just a few months to where you graduate and you're a gastroenterologist. But on the way, in addition to that, you went back and got board certified in obesity medicine.
Right.
So talk briefly about that.
My wife and I were both interested in it, and now she's in medicine, and now she's an intern, and she thinks she might want to do that as well in the future. I looked at it, and as you go through the training, for internal medicine, you learn everything about the body and how everything kind of ties together. And obesity hits everything. Heart disease, kidneys, diabetes. I mean, every part of your life. It really affects everything. And so we get into the GI world and you start looking at studies about fatty liver disease, studies out there that are like, maybe by the year 2030, this is going to be the most common cause of cirrhosis in some of these populations. And you're like, this is going to start beating alcohol. This is going to start beating viruses. This is pretty impressive. And so it's like, well, what can I do? And then we start looking at different medicines that come into the GI that are for fatty liver disease. And then you start looking at the GLPs were studied pretty significantly. That's kind of where, initial interest came in. And then I was like, well, what are the people that can't get the GLP? Because now these are $1,300 medicines.
Yeah.
$1,200 medicines, and maybe you'll get them off half price, or maybe if you're lucky enough, your insurance will cover it, or you won't. And it's like, people are really desperate for it because now they're compounding them and they're going to these pharmacies. And I was like, let's look more into this. And then I got to see an advertisement, and then I did some conferences that talked about fatty liver disease, and then I had some obesity medicine physicians that were there. And so I got to look into that, and I was like, oh, there's a whole field of it that's kind of growing, and there are physicians that are looking at the whole person. What is their background? Do they have genetics that are playing a role? Is there something that's affecting kids at that level? Is it something that's not just food, but they have a problem, like a hormonal problem? And so that was really interesting. And then the field of GI evolves, and all of medicine does. And there's now fields with endobariatrics. And it's really interesting seeing a lot of the sleeve gastroplasties, Roux-en-Y revisions with TOR-E. There's the Orberas, the balloons that kind of help fill the stomach, and just starting to see there's things we can do if patients need them as interventions on the GI side. There's things we can do through medicine to try and help them, not just GLPs, but other medicines, and nutrition is the biggest thing. seeing how you can kind of work with the bariatric surgeons, I should say, together with the same goal, and then having your own personal story that you can tell patients. Like, this is really, really interesting. How can I get into this? So I started looking into the courses. You sign up for the classes, you go through the Cornell. There's a few different options you can do, get your CME and then look at the studying, do studying and take the board eventually. But that was my thing, was like, how can I do the field of medicine that I really like, GI, and then maybe even like a half day or a full day of clinic, just kind of set aside and say, I'm going to do some obesity medicine work. Because if you can kind of get to the root of things, you might avoid all the things that come on now. And if I can help them that way, I can help prevent the diabetes, I can prevent the heart disease, the kidney disease, the liver disease, the cirrhosis that comes through it, and all the complications of it.
Right.
So I think that's what really, really interested me, for sure. I think it's very popular these days now. And I think it's social media really played a big role. And probably a lot of it is bad. I think there's a lot of bad and misinformation out there. There's a lot of people doing a lot of irresponsible things, and for sure on social media. But I think there's a bigger emphasis on it now, health and fitness overall. And I think if you can maybe use that platform to your advantage and say, hey, I'm glad you're interested in this. Here's a lot of medicine behind it. Kind of marry those two things with your hobbies and your interests, and see if you can get healthier overall. So I think that's what really interested me. You know, I to this day, my wife and I, we had started going back to the bodybuilding shows, go to the Mr. Olympias. This is the first year. I'm not going back in a few years, but we just had a new baby. So I figured it was too loud for him to be there at 4 months old.
Surprised he's not working out.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a little dumbbell. Yeah. We do those Arnold Classics. It's fantastic. And so going there, I think you have to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. And that's a good support system that I think is important for patients. If you have someone in your home that's helping you, you have friends, you have family that are supporting you, it's easier to do it because they keep you on track. What I noticed in this industry is, as opposed to other sports where you're like, I want to be better than you, I want to be better than you, that fitness industry, that culture, generally speaking, when you go to the gym, everyone's there and they're all happy for you.
Right.
When someone's going to try and do a heavier weight that they've never done, a lot of people pause and they're like, hey, let me see this person and congratulate them if they do it.
Right.
And let me be there if they need help.
Yeah.
If they need something. So I think that's really important. And you go to these shows and it's like, these people have been competing, they've been dieting, they've been working out, they've been doing stuff for the full year. And now this is the culmination of it. Everyone's there to support them. And it's a pretty good environment.
It's a neat community. You know, on the podcast, we've talked a lot about the different communities, running community, biking community.
Absolutely.
You know, and weightlifting community, CrossFit communities. Was it rising tides, rise all boats? You know, and if you can get in with a tribe of people that are like-minded, and if you get a little wayward, they're usually right there to tug on your shirt tails and say, hey, you know, like your brother. Yeah. Let's rein it in.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And now we keep each other accountable. It's pretty good.
You know, it's interesting. What we've talked about so much on this podcast, not even intentionally, but, you know, the real key to success in anything, but definitely in health and fitness, is just starting. Yeah. There's no advantage to waiting till the first of the year. There's really no advantage to even waiting till the first of the month, right? If you decide to do it today, then today's the day that you start.
Just start.
Right? And if you fall off, that's okay. You get back on, you know. You talked about how you just came to that realization, and then you started going to Planet Fitness. You started there and you've been consistent. And the one thing through all these podcasts, when I interview people, starting's the hardest part, but once they do it, it's a go. And then consistency, just showing up. And there's days, I know there've been days when you wanted to eat a whole lot more and you didn't. Oh yeah. And there's days that you didn't want to work out and you did, right? I mean, it is just, and then the third thing is just your why. And you just wanted to get healthy for you. But now you've got a real why. You thought you had a why before. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about the new why.
Yeah, no. Now I've got a baby boy. His name's Benjamin. It's crazy. That first day, everything kind of changes altogether. I don't know how to explain it. It definitely, you know, people told me that things will change. Your whole outlook will think on babies or babies, yeah, for sure. But for life will change. And it really did. It was like, man, what can I do for him? How can I be around for him? And it changed a lot of things. And I think it's important because, like I said, my own personality, I know that I can go from one extreme to the other in my own health and fitness. And so, you know, I went from Planet Fitness, prove it to myself, then went up to like a Lifetime Fitness. And then as I got stronger and stronger, back to what I used to be, those machines don't really work for me much anymore. And I moved on to like different kind of bodybuilding, powerlifting gym. And I travel those gyms now and I do heavy weights and growing. And so, you know, my own goal was like, let me get back to that. Let me get to what these guys were. Let me get to be bigger, be stronger. And, I got back up to, I think, the 220s and 230s, pretty lean. My body is happier at like the 190 range. And then it's something that I knew in the back of my mind, but I was like, no, let me keep kind of chasing it. And then the baby comes along and you're like, no, I have to, get smaller again, get thinner, get healthier. This is longevity now.
Right. Yeah.
It's longevity for sure. You want to be there.
And when Fernando says he's up to 190 or 220 or whatever, that's muscle, right? I mean, this guy's got muscle and incredible discipline, right? All through fellowship. I mean, I would see him, his eating, microwaving these protein meals, eating shakes, and just very disciplined, very admirable. And it's nice for the other fellows to see, right? I mean, we and the attendings as well. Like we all kind of are witness.
It's kind of
to
a
your
joke,
health.
but it's good because it shows you're consistent. I mean, we bought a little mini fridge and we have it in the fellow room. We've got other fridges in the hospital. Like, you don't have to eat that. You can just have a little meal and make it through the next however many hours and you'll be fine.
Right.
It's important. It's tough when traveling. And when we go to we go to Oklahoma City for some of our liver transplant stuff. Mm-hmm. I take meals with me. I go to the fridge and the freezer and stock up. I'm ready to go for the week. It's nice because now I don't have to worry about cooking out there. I don't have to go out to eat over there.
Right. If you can make healthy choice the easy choice, things are a whole lot better. But in society, the healthy choices are the expensive choices, and they're hard. Like you can go buy a box of cereal and it's good for 3 months, or I don't know, whatever. It's good, but you buy some fruit, it's good for 3 days, or right. And it's harder to eat healthy. But what you've done in that fellow lab by putting a little mini fridge in there and stocking it with healthy foods is it just makes it so that everybody else that wants to grab something to eat, whether they intend to or not, they're going to get something that's a little healthier than the next option. And really, that's the only, if you do nothing more than just take the healthier choice, even if it's not very healthy, if it's healthier than what you might have grabbed, you've netted something out of it that day.
One of the things I tell patients now too, because we talk about how expensive it is to eat healthy. And that's for the most part very true. But if you can strip it down, what do I need? It's actually not that bad. Mm-hmm. And that's, we deal in our field a lot with patients with cirrhosis. And they need that low sodium, but they need high protein. And we kind of emphasize it to them and they're like, man, just getting protein in is so hard. And that's a big thing these days. Everyone tries to I think it's in Starbucks now. They're trying to do protein drinks. But I'll tell them, like, you can go to Walmart and get a bag of frozen tilapia. Those little fillets are like 90 calories. They're like 20 grams or 15 grams of protein.
Yeah.
I put 2 of those in the air fryer, a little seasoning, and some kind of either rice or vegetable, broccoli medley. And it's only like 250, 300 calories. And you got 40, almost 50 grams right there that you need. And then if, they're supplementing with their boosts or insurers or premier proteins or whatever it is, like you can get to 90 or 100 grams in 2 meals. Yeah. It's not that bad. And it's pretty cost effective as opposed to going out to McDonald's.
Right.
And you're spending $12 now. And you bought that tilapia and it probably costs you $6 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I need to have you come back and we ought to just talk about stuff like that, right? Just talk about alternatives. Because I think there's just a lot of things out there that people don't know are options. And if they just have a resource. Well, is there anything else, any other topics that you want to bring up? Anything that you'd like people to know about you or your health journey?
I think it's important to know it's an everyday thing. I mean, like you were talking about, there are days where you want to eat more, or there are days you eat less, there's a day you want to not work out. And I think it's important to at least talk about that with patients too, because I still struggle. And we talk about people having alcohol. We talk about them having drug addiction, any addiction, food addiction. That's a real thing.
It is.
And just like, everyone these days is looking at these medicines. How can I get on these GLP medication? And these are lifelong medicines. And I think, this is a lifelong problem with obesity. And I deal with it every day now. Like every day I wake up, I get my little tracker out. All right, here are how many calories I have for the day.
Yeah.
And it's annoying. It is. But if you make it part of your life, then it's not that bad. But just know that it's a real thing. Like people have heart disease and they have to take their medicine every day. They have diabetes. They have to take their medicines every day. You have whatever. This is just a new thing. I have this and I need to be on top of it. Because if I'm mindful of it, then I can stay on top of it. But if I'm not, the next time I look at the scale, it might be 15 pounds higher. My blood pressure is going up. I'm not sleeping very good. So it's an everyday thing for sure. And it's tough. It's a challenge every day. But get a good group of people around you.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
It is so intentional, right? Health is intentional. And, people as they age, when you watch them, right, they tend to become less and less healthy, right? I mean, obviously, as we get older, we encounter more health issues, right? Just from age, but also, you just see people get bigger.
Yeah.
And if you just let the default course of action to unfold in front of you, and you're not intentional at the direction that you're taking your health and fitness, it will take you the wrong way, right? You have to intentionally have your hands on the wheel and guide that thing exactly where it needs to be. And I think that's
just have that why. Why am I doing this? And keep that at the forefront of their mind, and you can do it. It's tough. It's very hard, but you just have to start.
Well, it's great that you started before Benjamin.
Yes.
And now it's just sustaining, right? Because I mean, you've seen my kids, and I love health and fitness, right? It's just become part of who I am.
Yeah.
And it is sort of my addiction, right?
Yeah.
But I got to say, it's, a lot of it's, I would just want to make sure that I'm here for my kids as long as I can. Even if I don't live to be old, I want to be a quality citizen, a quality dad, quality husband, a quality friend to everybody that I'm around while I'm there, not a burden to anybody.
Absolutely.
And so,
that's big.
You have a fantastic why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, man, it's been fantastic. This has been a long time coming. We've talked about this for a year probably, but I am incredibly proud of you.
Thank
you. From the day I met you, you're just such a likable guy, and
Thank you.
You're going to do fantastic, not only in GI, but in obesity, and more importantly in parenthood. But it's just been fun to watch your journey, and I just look forward to see the next chapter.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. That's the biggest thing, is just, every part of life up to this point, and there's always someone that has given me an opportunity. There's someone that's given me a chance to do something. You always have to remember everyone that's helped you along the way. There's every single person. I remember people from school. I remember the counselors. I remember the immigration person that I met. I still remember them. Everything, the program directors before you gave me opportunity. And so thank you.
Well,
I remember.
No man is an island. And I've got a long list of people to thank as well. So, and I know you'll be that person for so many people. So, well, Fernando, thanks for coming on, and we'll wrap it up. And then if, get you back, we can talk about nutrition or something else.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for telling your story, and
absolutely
give Benjamin a big hug when you see him.
Absolutely.
All
Watch
right,
out for the Olympia this week. It's
there
going to
we
be
go.
amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Perfect. All right, man. I'm your host, Dr. Drew Crawford. Join me next week as we go beyond measurements and image to build healthier lifestyles and elevate your well-being on the BMI Podcast. See you then. The BMI Podcast is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute providing medical advice or professional services. Be sure to check out our description below for our website and social media platforms.